انت سويت الحين your undergrad in the UK.
Yes.
How did that work out for you?
Well, to get this story, what happened to me personally, it was a little bit different than others. Why? Because I was in different scheme. And so when I graduated from high school, I graduated with very low GPA, which I'm very proud of. I graduated with 66%, which at that time, no university will accept me, and because due to the minimum requirement to enroll in university. So I enrolled in college. And due to the mechanism of that college was a little bit older, and I spent 5 years. So I took my diploma, and then I go for higher national diploma in human resources. Then I have a question. Either I go back and redo it all again in private university, or I have to go outside and do a top-up degree. Therefore, the opportunity was wide open in UK because the education links or the education program that I went through is basically a UK-based program. So UK offered me a 1 year for a bachelor or undergrad, and then I did my postgraduate as well.
That's fascinating because my cousin Khalid, he came out from Saudi Arabia. His English was abysmal, to be honest. And so I enrolled him into an English school into the UK for about 1.5, 2 years. And then instead of him going to high school or anything else, I found a few universities that were willing to do a supplementary year, which is instead of an undergrad, I think a typical undergrad in the UK is 4 years.
Yes.
He did one supplementary year, which was like an equivalency of an A-level.
Right.
And that allowed him then to go and study at Cardiff. So that was the process that we went through to get him to where he needs to be at. I wish I did that process. I sadly did it the dumb way. I did my A-levels in the UK, and then I did my undergrad at Westminster, and I chose my university based on the shekel, based on the girls. Right. That's how I chose it, because I remember going to different universities, because you can, in the UK system, you can apply to 3 different universities. Right? But they have that portal. I forgot whatever that portal was called.
I think I know what you mean. The portal which allow you, I think, UCAS.
UCAS portal,
yeah,
right?
UCAS.
You can have 3.
Yeah.
Technically, you can have more, but then you just have to contact the university's like number on the admission portal, and then you can send your A-levels through that direction, which sadly I didn't know. Anyways, I was at the time studying in Birmingham, and I went to London. And I was checking out some universities, and I went to Tal Al-Haim. I was like, which one has which one had the nicest girls? And I ended up choosing Westminster because it had the most Russian girls.
Right. Does it work for you?
Oh my God, it worked like a dream. I was never happier. Full of just tall, thin, blonde girls. It was a dream. 4 years of just pleasant memories. And you didn't end up working in the UK? You wanted to go back to Bahrain? How did that work out for you?
To be frank, honest, it was really difficult. Why? Because in UK, if you want to switch your visa from Tier 4 visa or student visa to employment visa, it requires you to be in a sponsor company.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, if I want to position myself to be in a UK market, of course, they respect the qualification levels, and they really, they won't really hire you to do stupid job if you really graduate with something. So they will put that care into your direction. But what happened with me, basically, we were looked at as a third party. The first, of course, English, and of course, then there is the Europeans, and then there is the international. At that moment was in 2018, and it was prior to the Brexit.
Yes.
So at that time, they don't have extended visa, an option for an employees or for international. Now, for my case, I was really looking hard to find a job. Actually, I worked in London just to have the feeling of working in London. And I looked here and there, and honestly, to be in a position in UK market, and you will be like the third option for them. So if they will gonna hire you, they will have to look for the English, and then the Europeans, and then us.
Absolutely.
Sadly, after that, when Boris Johnson, I believe, or the one before Boris Johnson, Theresa May, if I'm not mistaken,
You're
Theresa
correct.
May left her, and then Boris Johnson came, and immediately he had put that, and I was like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, imagine, like, I'm graduating in 2018, it's 2019, there's like, no, only graduate from 2020 onwards, and I literally graduated in end of December, and only people who are going to graduate in 2020, they will be eligible for extended visa.
And
So
you didn't want to do a master's just to get that extra year?
no, I actually, at that time, I already applied for my master's, and I
Sure.
got accepted.
Sure.
And while that happened, they, like, honestly, if I want to position myself in those sponsorship companies, just like in Bahrain, for example, I'm talking about banks or oil companies, that, you know, that
Big industry companies.
Exactly. So the big industry companies are not concerning with the qualification only.
So I have a friend of mine who did her degree in the UK, and she wanted to apply for a UK citizenship, and I think that's about 10 years you have to be working in the UK to get it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. She was working for a financial company. I'm not going to say which because I don't remember the name. She was telling me that her yearly performance review, her manager was such a dick that he would say to her before the performance review, hey, you know what? If we fire you, you have to restart your 10 years.
Oh my God.
Exactly. And so every performance, which was every quarter and every end of the term, obviously, every year, they would put that again at her.
Right.
And it was horrendous. I remember seeing her really, really struggling, like coming in the office like very early, leaving incredibly late, getting back home,
Right.
and just to meet that kind of demand. So maybe I think you dodged a bullet, not joining that kind of a black company that is going to torture you.
Exactly, you know, but at that time, you know, my focus when I finished my postgraduate, like, I knew. And to be frank speaking, even in my thesis, I wrote it. And sometimes when I go through it, I was amazed. Because if I go back to 2014, 2015, I wrote, you know, you have to write about you have to write something. And at that time, when I applied to go to UK, I write one line, which really I was amazed of. How did I know this information prior to its time? I wrote, it's not about that degree that you have in hands. It's about what can you do with the degree.
What doors open?
Exactly. So taking this in before I study and when I graduated, I once I've seen these sponsor companies are very hard. They're demanding long experience, and in UK, I thought, like, you know what, it's not for me.
And what made you come back to Bahrain, and why not Saudi? Why not UAE? Why not China? What said to you saying, like, you know what, I spent my time in the UK. What was the driving feeling behind coming back then?
Honestly, I would say my family, because I stayed there like almost 3 years, and being away, and for me, I didn't like to come between, like, for example, Easter or Christmas. Those breaks are meant for me to go to explore UK, to be in UK. So at that time, I thought, like, I wasn't married back then, and I was like, I need to start up my family. I need to start doing something.
MashaAllah alayk.
And I need to, you know, sort out my things. And honestly, I didn't thought of being outside Bahrain, because you know, working outside Bahrain, even if it's lucrative position, it's not always with the money, I would say. And that's the main reason I came back, because I'm not driven by finding a paycheck to paycheck. And that's actually the reason why I believed that we shouldn't entirely put our lives into 9-to-5 jobs, that they wouldn't recognize what we can do for the conversation or the company. And so, like, from this perspective, I thought, like, you know, I don't want to go back to Bahrain, but I love UK. What should I do? Imagine what I did. I was searching just to find a job, and I met a girl, her name's Sarah, and she was working. Of course, you'll be familiar with this brand, Sports Direct.
Yes, of course.
So I went to Sports Direct and I says, you know what? I have only 6 months before my visa expires, and I want to work here. And she would ask me, "Are you serious, Mohammed?" I told her why. She said, "You have a master's degree. Why do you want to work as a sales specialist?" And then I replied to her,
It's visa. I mean, come on, wake up. Yeah.
"No, it's not like that." I took it to other. As like, you know what? Take it from another perspective. I have only 6 months left in my visas. You know, if I go back to my home and I'm thinking, or doing meditation, if I came back and I didn't accomplish a task within my task to-do list, that I did not work in the UK, or I didn't have the real feeling of working in London, it's gonna be a nightmare for me. Taking into consideration that you don't need to teach me the flow. I know how to manage the flow. And besides that, I have good experience in sales. And so she was amused by my honesty. And she offered me 0-hour contract, followed by 40 hours contract next week. And after that, even they asked me to stay even more than 40 hours. And then I was like, guys, I really love the work. I really like the environment. But I'm here to try working and living in London. Because I was living in Northeast. And it's not like London. London is different level, and I want to explore the feeling by working and being in that position. And so I came back to Bahrain, and as I said, this is where I discover myself. 27 years of my life, I thought I'm really good, or I thought that I'm going to be really good in terms of, because I like to deal with the people, I understand people, and I like to develop people, and that's my passion towards even choosing the human resource as, you know, as a curriculum to follow or to do. And so I didn't knew at that time what other inner power I might have or obtain. And so I knew in university especially, even if I was well prepared, as soon as I stood up, I feel nervous. I feel I'm reluctant. I feel like there's something not really going to the direction I wanted to be. And I feel like loss of words. I'll start fumbling with my hands. And sometimes I'm even sweating. And at that time, I was thinking, why?
Why are you anxious to go on stage?
Exactly. So why? And believe it or not, because of course before I got to UK I was working and studying, and I joined businesses here and there, so I knew about Toastmasters, which
again, another Toastmaster, guys. I wish we had a camera putting at you too as well. You're a second guest who talks to us about Toastmasters,
really?
By the way. Yeah.
So what happened? I knew that in Toastmasters you can develop skills or communication or networking, but you never know until you tried. And when I went there the first day, I still remember that the first meeting I went, the environment, the people, the positive mindset, the right mindset to develop you, the right people, the experts. And so when I joined Toastmasters, it was 3 years ago. It was in here in Manama. There was a club called Friends Club Toastmasters. So I went there, and I was...
Sorry to interrupt you. How did you find Toastmasters, first of all?
How do I knew it, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. So
through friends or through just online?
Right. Let me share with you something even interesting.
Sure.
In 2014 or 2013, back at that era, we were promoting some business selling online items.
Okay.
Right? At that, they call it digital marketing.
Sure.
Right. So in this digital marketing, there was, of course, you heard about the pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Those kind of things we were attacked at that certain time.
Okay.
What happened is with these things that one of the new joiners or the newcomers to this business, when he introduced, we were doing or hosting some campaigns. So we would invite guests and we will tell them like, this is the product, and we will go explain everything about the product. What amazed me that day specifically, there was a guy called Habib. And that guy, he have, I would say, 10% or 20% of knowledge of that product. But he insisted that when he invite his own guest, he want to be the MC.
Very
So,
strange. Okay.
It's very
Ego.
strange. Exactly. So,
Ego.
exactly. We would say like, he's an ego. What he inspired me when he really started his speech by knowing the way he stand, the body language, how he speak, the voice modulation, I was amazed. As soon as he finished, I told him, how on earth you got to this position? Can you please explain to me? You have very, let's say 20-30% of knowledge, but still you were taking the stage, the engagement of the stage, something we normally doesn't see, because this is my stereotype that he's an ego guy, he just want to show off. But it turns out he's really an excellent speaker. So he simply says to me, Toastmasters. From that point onwards, I just keep on thought that Toastmasters is something good, but I never tried it. I did try it in UK, but then I was like, and I don't think that going to develop me, and I have busy schedule. As I said, when
Okay, so you've heard about it before
exactly
in the UK. And how
Yes.
did you hear about it in the UK?
no, when I heard about it, I knew there's at clubs.
Okay, so you must have heard it from your friends or something like
Yes,
that.
That
Okay.
guy, not friends, that
Yeah, yeah.
specific guy.
Yeah.
And I was working and studying at that time in
Okay.
Bahrain.
Yes.
So I didn't have time.
Okay.
I was working in retail, I work in hospitality, where I work, for example, 8 to 5,
Yes.
and then I go to city center from 6 to 11, and then I'm going to stay in the weekends, like double shift, in order just to cover the shortage of hours. So I didn't have time. When I went to UK, again, like I went there directly the top-up degree, so I don't have a chance to fail.
Sure.
And that's the reason why at that time I felt like, you know what, I have to do it. Me personally, as Master Mo, I never thought I'm gonna be a guy who sit in library and read a book. I never imagined this even would be possible. But then life circumstances didn't give me an option. You have to stay in library 10 hours plus, otherwise you wouldn't able to pass. And I went there as a top-up degree, and imagine if I made this mistake or so, I would feel ashamed. How would I look to my father, and how would I look to my mother? What did I did?
عينك دم بالوجه طبعا.
Exactly. So from that, like the ownership of that responsibility kept me staying in library for hours and hours. And so at that time, I joined a club in Newcastle. I didn't join, I went to one of the meetings. Basically, Toastmasters have scheduled meeting 2 times per month. And so these 2 hours will be structured. There will be agenda before you start, before the end. There will be everything set up, and you just have to show up, do this 2 hours, and come back 2 weeks after. And it's roller coaster running.
Okay, so it's every 2 weeks, the
Yes,
event.
the
Okay.
Toastmasters. So when I was in the UK, I didn't thought that, I don't have time. And by the way, would they really improve me? I have doubts.
And also, you're spending money. Do you need to spend money on this?
I need to be in library, especially. I still remember, honestly, the tough into doing master's degree, because the intensive of research that you need to do before you write something. You need to write. You need to find the right journal articles. So basically, if I need 10 journal articles, I need to search for 100, maybe thousands. To get the right ones. And if you get the right ones, then they will direct you to the ones that you really need. And
Sure.
then you take all this, and then after that you think, okay, I choose this topic, then you start writing.
Sure.
And from this perspective, I thought this is not going to help me. But the moment I graduated, I knew I need to sort this out, but I have no idea how. And so I talked to one of my friends, and he recommended me this club, and I went there. After 2 meetings, I registered as a Toastmasters, and from there, I start to realize my inner power. I didn't knew that in a day I'm gonna be a speaker in any event or so. And so I took this and I explored. And through, trial and error, you get the comments from the mentors. And most of them, they would telling me, Muhammad, you need to focus into that. It's not a skill. It's not, you are really need to nurture your skills. You need really to, and here, the place where you can develop. This place is what, and basically once I start going into regular meeting, I have this feeling, and believe it or not, after 2 years in Toastmaster, I realized something. 27 years of my life, I never think of even being a motivational speaker or so. So I got this these things, and I was thinking, now I have this skill. How can I nurture it? Of course, in doing the meetings, but how can I really utilize it?
Implement it.
How can I really take that advantage with me, and how can I really see myself in it? And I found out about, of course, starting a podcast. It was a dream for me. I never, that's what I like to say it in a row, like whatever you would call it, that when you discover your inner feelings about trying things, some people, they don't allow themselves to try, and they wouldn't know what they are really good at. You know what I mean? So for me, I knew about this field, and I was like, I never hold a camera in my life. I didn't even open an editor. I didn't have an app of editing. I never ever did any kind of lightings, or never touched anything. And because I have the passion, I start everything literally from zero.
The biggest problem with starting everything at zero is that you get with the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
So this is something that I think we all suffer from, and this is specifically really bad, sadly, for people who start at something new, be it in podcasting, be it with me, you, driving a car, learning how to speak a different language. We all have this thing of a feeling and being like, we do a first few successes and then we think we're an expert. It's called also the peak of Mount Stupid, meaning in a sense, we go all through it.
Thought like, yes,
we can handle it. We know how to do everything. I can watch a few videos. I got it.
Yes.
And then very quickly, you get slapped
exactly
very hard down, and you realize you don't know a lot about anything. And that's exactly what happened with me with podcasting. That's why I'm bringing it up, is my insinuation and my experience in media and everything else. I thought to myself, hey, you know what? Whoever I bring in, I will probably have more knowledge than they will have. I was like, listen, I've done it for years. I'm probably gonna have to teach them.
Right.
And it surprised me how much these guys here are so skilled, and I was just, I was slapped by the Dunning-Kruger effect. So that's why I wanted to ask you about it as well, and that's why I'm bringing it in.
Yeah.
With your podcast, how long did it take from going from I have absolutely zero knowledge and I don't even know how to set up a camera to going, hey, you know what? I'm now producing content.
Oh, it takes me a really long time to get this content. At the moment, even my schedules were miserable. And not only that, from aside, there's another thing. I don't know if you want to touch upon or not, is that some people perceive themselves higher than you.
Oh, boy.
So, at certain time, really, and let me just share with you something, that certain people that really, they thought of themselves that they are over the mountains and everybody else is done. And they reach to a level that we are the main we are the main inspiration for the people, and people just have to follow us.
Haute couture, yeah.
And that's, for me, I really disagree with this kind of mentality. And sometimes it's very hard to get I'm like, in my podcast, I normally invite some people to get, what can I give the community back from this gentleman? Like, he's a doctor, he is an engineer. I might asking him, what is the good about this job? What is the bad about this job? What do you advise the younger generation that they will follow this? I have this abundance mindset that I don't mind if my success or your success is going to be with my help. I'm gonna help you to be successful. I don't look forward to you help me to help me successful.
You're not
Someone
looking for
else.
tic-tac-toe
Exactly.
in that relationship.
But some people actually took that into wrong perspective. They thought themselves that, oh, we reached to this level. You know what? This guy invited me to a podcast, and you know what? He just wanted to capitalize on my audience. And I was like, no way. Even if you were really famous, sorry, but the people wouldn't go long hours watching something if they don't knew that my content worth of watching.
Of course, I agree.
If my content is worth of watching, I don't care whether that guy or the girl in front of me are famous or no, talented or no. Perhaps he might be a very basic guy. Winning Oscars in it would be very simple, very simple scene, and they would end up winning an Oscar. So keeping that into perspective, we are in life, we are equals.
Sure.
We are not in this life, meaning that even myself right now doesn't mean if I graduated with a higher certificate that I looked at you that you didn't graduate, for example. I was like, oh, you're still early. You never know. Maybe that guy is more talented than you.
Of course.
Maybe he have hidden powers that will cross your college or university degree whatsoever. So I had that kind of interaction with with some influencers in the social media.
In the UK or in Bahrain?
No, in Bahrain. So some of them, they have this propaganda of these things.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, I don't need to introduce myself.
Master Mo, tell us where the name comes from.
Yeah, right. So the name came from when I have zero chance of being in education. At that time, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I says I have 66%, which I'm really proud of, because at that time I didn't have even the right environment to be in university. But what drive me to be there is that I still remember that day. It was in 2011. I was working in Tommy Hilfiger in City Center Mall, and I was thinking, honestly, I was like, my paycheck back then, it was like 300 plus and plus incentives and stuff like that. So when I do my paycheck and one of my customers come and bought like my whole salary with just literally 2 polo t-shirts and 1 jeans, and I was like,
why can't I be that?
Not in that perspective, in the perspective of, if I worked for 30 days and I'm working and studying, and at the end I cannot even bought what that guy think of, like I never had this purchase power. At that moment I thought, where do I want to position myself? Where would I see myself in 5 years or whatsoever? And so thought like, you will never ever get the chance to be in higher positions at that time, because they were not considering certificate. Now I think what going on is just it's quality or whatever you have of abilities, or basically vitamin W.
It's exactly that.
It's vitamin W. It's very well very good product.
But it's not just here in Bahrain, by the way. It's everywhere in the world, right?
True,
that's why people go to golf courses. That's why people play tennis. It's not because they enjoy the sport. It's because,
Exactly. So when I had zero chance to accomplish that, and then I start literally from ground. As I say, I have to go to college. And because I don't want to rely on my father anymore. I'm a grown up. And if you go through understanding yourself, if you want to understand you really who you are, you should go back to in the beginning when you were really, really small. And I used to see my dad working 2 jobs, hustling. So I thought, I'm going to be just like my dad. You know what? I don't need money. I'm just going to earn the money and I will continue my studies. And so when I did my BA, I applied for master's. And once I graduated with master's degree, I thought like, there was zero chance of me having to think even that one day I'm going to be in UK or studying in UK. Now, I did something that after 9 years of working and studying, I reached that. So I was like, I need because I have it's like I'm really value that the road wasn't easy, but when there is a way, when there is a will, there is a way. They say if there is a will, there is a way. So I really think about that, and it's like, Master Mo is back.
Okay.
And thereafter, I called myself Master Mo because I have i'tizaz.
Okay.
I don't know how to.
We'll translate it in the bottom.
It's like, because I have zero chance of having it, and now I'm confident that I did it. And I wasn't a student even in my university or college that, oh, he is that guy. Like, even my colleagues, like, none of them has completed bachelor once we finished our course. And when I did my bachelor with the people among me in Sunderland, I moved to Newcastle, so all the people with me, they're like, nah, we're gonna work and stuff like that. Only me who got into master. So I have really strong belief into it, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna stuff. And of course they were calling me Moo. You know, in university, if you call, what's your good name? Muhammad.
Muhammad, yeah.
And it's like, it feels like, you know what,
Just call
can
me
I
Mo.
call you Moo? Yeah, just call me Moo. And so I still remember my colleague called me Moo.
Okay.
So I was like, Momo sounds like girlish, sounds like
Baka. Yeah.
maybe.
No, come on.
So I was like, Master Mo. And then thereafter, when I started my podcast, I was thinking, you know what, Master Mo. And then after that, people start calling me Master Mo, and then I got the name.
Hey, it works. You know,
it
why
works.
not?
It works, yeah.
Because when I heard it the first time, I thought, Dan, open a web browser. I thought you came from the Doctor Who reference. So I thought you meant like that reference to that TV show. I was like, oh, okay.
Not really, no.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe his podcast is going to be all about like Doctor Who and TV shows and stuff like that.
No, not really. No, actually, like I said, يعني الاعتزاز بالإنجاز.
The drive of trying to achieve. I totally understand where you're coming from.
That's exact, and especially when you look where I started.
Of course.
No chance, zero. But then throughout this, I thought like I need to find something that links me with this. And of course, if you respect someone, or they would call them gurus, when they are really into, I don't know, above, I don't know what's the criteria to call a guy a guru.
Sure.
For example, now you are a guru of marketing.
Sure.
Based on what can I call you guru
Sure.
of marketing?
Sure.
So I was like, masters is like, he's like not gurus, but he's in advanced something. So I was like, you know, Master Mo.
Sure. And it's connected. It's good. Have you gotten like shirts and stuff like that done? And
Not really. This is actually, I just did my, just like cups in my podcast. I was like, Master Mo.
I mean, I think you should take it to a whole new level. I think you should get like you should get your shirts, your jackets. You should just have it like huge on it. Dan, can you look up T-Mobile CEO? He did something like that, and I've always wanted to copy this man. CEO US, John Ledger, I think his name is. See, he would always walk around with the brand as everything, his shoes, his clothes, because T-Mobile is pink, so he would always wear that brand color.
Right.
So he would be a walking commercial everywhere he's walking around. And you know what? I gotta give him credit. See the transformation
Yeah.
on the left to the right. Do you see where he's wearing a suit?
Yeah.
That's where he was still I think a C-level executive, and that was when he became CEO. He was like, you know what? I can do what I want now.
Yeah.
I think that's a good initiative for the both of us, Mo,
Yeah.
Master Mo.
Yeah. You, for me, I was thinking into, I like this. You know Amran Aradi, right?
Sure.
There was a comedy show. I am not sure what it's called, but they were advertising it. And at that moment, he had a scene where he says he was joking about the influencers in Bahrain and how they write their names. For example, he was saying Bovlix, Sultan Abdul Rahim. Then there's this guy, Ela, what's his name? Fliberace, yeah. He was saying Fliberace, and he said his real name, Sultan. It was hilarious that these people come up with names that have no relation whatsoever with their authentic name or their name.
Okay, for the audience, show me their Instagram, because otherwise people are going to be like, "Who are these people? What do they look like? What is going on?" So they just like take that and composite that identity. Is that what you're saying, or
No. I don't. He was saying it in a hilarious way, in a joke way, that if you bring the influencers here in Bahrain,
Okay.
you're gonna see their names. For example, now Bovlix, and he
Yeah.
said Salah Abdul Majid, and it was hilarious for the audience, you know.
Sure.
Then he said about this Flipperati, and then he said his real name. It's like there's no relation
between
he
the
made
two.
it as a joke.
Okay.
And it was, if I found it like hilarious when I saw it, like it was really.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean it's
That was when I go to depth into thinking what is the characteristics that my personality look like.
sure.
What is the name that will suit me if I'm hosted or I'm
Sure.
invited. I need to showcase
Sure.
that there is a reason behind this name.
Sure.
That whenever a guy think about something, he can do it.
Okay.
He would do it wherever the road is, but he need to have the beliefs, that the drive, the passion. Some people are talking. They say talk the talk, but you should walk the walk, not talk the talk. Lots of people will talk, but then reality, who's really doing? Yeah.
Sorry, you just paused in that weird. I'm listening because I'm trying to connect on how you went from, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do in life. I'm struggling. I'm not the best kid or the brightest kid at school. I did my degree, alhamdulillah, successful. Came back to Bahrain, tried to do things, tried to find things. Ended up realizing this Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And then now you've been with Toastmasters for
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, because what happened with the COVID, it really restrict us to improve. The whole community in Bahrain, the
Sure.
public speaking community, have been damaged with this pandemic, of course, and because we have physical meeting. And when COVID hit Bahrain really hard, of course, we have to postpone everything, and then they choose to do visual or
Zoom meetings.
And honestly, it did not work for me. I tried it many times. I even joined a club called HR Toastmasters Club, and they were really well established. They are regular meeting, but it was only in Zoom meeting, so I couldn't find the lucrative feeling when I am on the stage. When I am on a stage, someone will going to tell me what is my weaknesses, the constructive feedback, where
This is a hard sales pitch for Toastmasters, because I think we've been talking about it for almost 20 minutes. This is not a paid advertisement, by the way. So I'm going to dig into this Toastmaster now. First of all, how much does it cost? What are we talking about now?
you know what, it costs nothing.
I don't believe that.
Trust me, not nothing. It's non-profit organization.
Sure.
But it's a profit somehow. You need to say the truth.
The owner
isn't it?
drives a Lamborghini, but we don't ask how he's affording that Lamborghini. But
Look, so basically you pay a fee to the membership. So it costs $50 per annum, which basically 6 months.
sure.
And for example, each club has different things. So for example, let me tell you something. In Bahrain, for example, there is corporate clubs
Okay.
and there is clubs.
Can you name me a few corporate and normal clubs?
Babcock, GBIC, Toastmasters, Benegas Toastmasters. This is
I'm just for the
corporate.
audience, obviously.
Of course.
Who will have never heard of these clubs if they're
Right.
not from Bahrain.
Actually, I can refer you to something even more lucrative, so that I did 2 episodes of my podcast was to show or to share to give awareness to the people about Toastmasters and public speaking. And so public speaking club is basically in Bahrain, we have around 70 clubs. Can you imagine?
And how many people per club?
25, 35, active members maybe 15, another non-active another 15. So it's huge.
Yeah.
And
that's 1,400 people minimum.
Yes. But the sad truth is, in my opinion, and the reason why I did it, because when I joined Toastmasters, I knew I'm a speaker. I knew about things that I never knew at school.
Okay.
I did psychometric test. I did a test of to understand what's my learning curve.
Okay.
But I didn't understood that at some stage that I have good skill when it's come to public speaking, communication, presentation,
Okay.
confidence, blah blah blah. I learned all this from Toastmasters.
Okay.
So to give you the nutshell of it, in each meeting, just to give you how it looks like. For example, like I said, 2 meetings per month. And these 2 meetings, there would be role players. So there will be prepared speech where you have to present your speech, whatever subject you want to talk about, from 5 to 7 minutes.
Of course.
Then there would be evaluator. Someone specifically will give you constructive feedback onto your speech.
For your 5 to 7 minute speech, do you memorize it personally, or do you have a prompter that you can read from, or have cue cards, or how do you process that?
See, there you go. You see these questions that pop up to your mind when I say this? It feels
Okay.
like difficulties or challenges, I would say. Oh, how would I stand? I would forget my... We don't allow them to have prompter papers.
Okay.
Like in the beginning, for example, someone was joined Toastmaster very recently. Of course, he can had, but then we would empower them with the confidence that they don't need anything in hands.
Okay.
They have to structure their speech with the beginning, middle, and end.
So a 3-arc story.
No, you
That's
have to have
Intro,
like
medium, exit. Yeah, that's a
within
3-arc
the
story.
5 to 7 minutes. That will educate you to do time management. When you do it infrequently, just like you are training your unconscious mind, that there I start, there I stop, without looking to the watch. So consistently doing something, you learn, you know. And so there would be a prepared speech, there would be evaluator, someone will give you personally, then there would be something really, really interesting. They call it table topics. And in this table topics, everyone has his own version to do it. So for example, if I'm the table topic master, I would come and I have to choose for you whatever I think a good question. So for example, I will come to you and say, yo, Mike, can you say 2-minute presentation of this product?
Of course. I can do it right now if you
You
want
can
me
do it
to.
right now. But some people will not.
Sure. So I can even sell it to you. Tell me, Master Mo, what makes this bottle special to you? Do you like the cap of it?
No,
What about the water? Do you like the flavor?
not really. It's unflavored.
It's unflavored, so flavor is for you important.
Not really.
Flavor
But I
isn't
think,
important for you.
The quality of it.
The quality of the water is very important for you.
Yes.
What if I tell you this is one of the highest quality water you can find in Bahrain? How important is quality water for you? By the way, that's sales. As you know.
So some of them, they will have a quote, whether you agree or no. Some of them will ask you to talk about the moment that you feel everything is not going well, but you made big step. Talk to us through that. Oh, the hardest thing, whatever the shape of the question. But trust me, everybody will have, now I give you an example on some.
Sure.
So sometimes people bring really weird stories, or they will tell you be in that certain position and act like you have to fix it within this 2 minutes.
Okay.
And so it's very challenging. That will allow your mind to improve problem solving.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. There's a special course in English. It's called for it as well, but I forgot the name of it. I know exactly what you're on about, Master Mo. It's not like pamper mining. Like you sit in a crowd, and then there's performers, and the crowd will yell out like certain things. Like where is it set? In New York, and then you have to pretend like you're in New York, and then it forces you to think on. It's called improv.
Okay,
That's the
prompter.
one.
What we call it is based specifically to improve your prompter speech that you never knew in your life. Perhaps if you work in, let's say, marketing, and you see let's say the CEO of the company in the company meetings, he just came in and he want to talk with you, not flirt. Not flirt. I mean, talk to you, and you would have the feeling inside you, oh, I shouldn't say this. That will sound dummy. Or should I say this? or I don't want to talk about this. Let me say something maybe to impress him. I don't know how to impress him.
Maybe I don't say anything.
You see all these dots, these links in your brain.
Sure.
That's where Toastmaster kicked in.
Okay.
To educate you.
Okay.
To build your characteristics into how to deal with such situation.
And when you sign someone up to Toastmasters, do you then get some money for
No,
it?
no, not
No,
really.
it's not. It's not a. It's not a pyramid scheme,
no,
is
no,
it?
No. So after that, there would be another role players. One will watch the time, of course,
Sure.
per second.
Sure.
If you are above the time, you are disqualified.
Sure.
If you are below the time, so for example 5 to 7, if you speak 3 minutes and you stop, then you
Sure.
are below the time, so disqualified. And the good thing about that, they have annual
Meetings.
not
and
annual competition.
Oh, okay.
And only, I think, from each country there would be only 2 or 1 they would probably go to compete.
Okay.
It's international level, so it's very, very interesting.
And what does the winner get?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I think holding the certificate of being the speaker of the year, it's something.
But that's like, imagine taking holiday days from your work to go travel, to go speak to somebody in South America. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're feeling, but I think it's just like winning. Imagine, like, if I ask you a question.
Sure. Ask me.
Okay, what do you think? For example, if I would ask you to participate in the World Cup.
Okay.
Right, so perhaps there is an event,
Sure.
something, and they seek you to be a speaker of that event, right?
Sure.
So imagine yourself into that position. Perhaps for you, winning is to be there.
Of course.
But sometimes winning does not mean that it's with money, you know?
Sure.
I'm not really sure about the rewards though, but because I knew that the rewards not that much.
There we go. Right. I mean, if you would tell me and be like, hey, you come knock at my house, I open, you're telling me you're from FIFA World Cup, they want me to come and talk, and I'd look at you in the eyes. Our first question would be when and how much, because
Exactly.
right, because you're telling me it's during my work time. I have to somehow convince my boss and being like, listen,
Yes.
I have to go for at 1 week.
True.
Exactly, right?
True.
By the way, the thing with the water bottle, can you look up on Google, sell me this pen? Do you know that old...
How can he says basically how to translate it and then just keep it, try it, allow him to try it, then how do he sell it?
No.
The one with the lecturer.
Yeah. It's this infamous scene, I think. What's the movie called again? Yeah. This is actually based on a true story, and this is one of those old sale techniques where when you try to sell something to a customer,
Right.
instead of you telling them this product is really, really good, you ask the customer, what do you find good in this product? Do you like the water? Do you like the color? Do you like the plastic?
Right.
And then you feed into
elaborating based on the conversation.
Exactly.
You have to have passive listening to what he specifically says.
Exactly. So if he's saying, like, for example, when you said, Master Mo, what's important for you is very clean or very healthy water. I'd be
Right.
like, you know what? You're incredibly lucky, Master Mo, because this is the world's cleanest and healthiest water.
yes. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, Toastmasters is really great journey. It's something that really I was amazed of, and for me, I was like, yo, what are you doing? I started saying to my friends, to the people around me about that, and they don't bother. And unfortunately, the Arabic community, are not really bothered about that. And that's one of the elite speakers in Bahrain says it very loud and clear to me, and I was like, hell yeah.
A lot of laziness, sadly.
It says to me, imagine you had just graduated, people who just graduated. If you ask them to do a presentation, they will freak out.
Sure. I
They
can
will
imagine
freak
so.
out. The thing is it's not about freaking out. It's about how you can deal with that, and you build the best version possible for you.
By the way, I can tell by your tonality on how you use your voice.
exactly. See, this is how you get the engaged You see, when I do this small trick, of course you are a speaker. You would even I got you.
No, if it's not so much that, there's a really good program called Master Classes, which you're going to definitely enjoy because I really enjoyed it. So I think we're very much alike like that, Master Mo. It's called Master Classes, and can you in Google search type in hostage negotiation? Master Classes. Chris Voss. He teaches the art of negotiation, and he used to be a hostage negotiator in the U.S. You know, talking people down from whatever situation, and he really goes into depth on how to use your tonality of your voice. Do you go very excited if you want people to be excited? Do you want to be very calm if you want to calm them down? And how to do in structure
exactly
those little tricks.
It's go really deep though. It's not simple topic that it's easily been said, that it's easily been do it. It's require you to have practice.
It requires you not only to just have practice, but it also requires you to have an open mind to go and experience and see more of it.
Exactly. So keep yourself in that position.
By the way, that was that mirroring what I just used. Because you take the last three words from someone's sentence and you reflect it back, and it makes also the listener feel like they've come across their message.
Exactly.
They feel understood.
Yes.
It's really, really good. Yeah, if you guys are wanting to do it, I've got the membership for it as well.
Exactly. So having said that, it's imagine yourself, and then someone else will give you a way to develop yourself. He will give you what are the strengths within your personality. For example, even graduate from speakers schools or public speaking clubs, normally they will be comic, some of them, because they never knew that they can run a stand-up comedy show.
Of course.
Some of them, they might be a motivational speaker, just like I did. And for me, I was lucky actually, because last year I was it was my first event in Bahrain, where I used to work.
Let me interrupt you first of all. So your first event in Bahrain, who hosted it? Was it Master? Or was it?
No. It was hosted by Yamaha.
Okay. And how did that structure happen? Did you message them? They messaged you?
No. I was working in a family business, which they own large number of businesses. And so I have really good contact with the manager of Yamaha, is Mr. Hussein Kohaji. He asked me if I can be his MC. And I was like, yes, why not?
And MC stands for?
Master of Ceremony.
Okay, no, because again,
Master.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know any feeling that some of your audience, they might know the
terminology.
Yes, sure. The jargon, specifically. So I was there just, it was a fishing competition, and it's for the people who own yacht, and they park their yacht in Amwaj Marina. So we talk about, I think.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah. I'm interested. Are you
right?
Was it from an aspect of sales of getting more yachts into the lot, or was
No. Just it's basically to promote the brand of Yamaha. And
Okay.
And they have all sorts of things. They have stocks in hand. They have like machines, like boat machines,
jet skis. I imagine
everything was there laid down, and it was my first event as an MC, like in outside the doors of my show, my studio, or public speaking clubs.
And so your position was to do what? To do the introduction, or
entertain the audience.
Okay.
Give them information. Shout out to our sponsors.
Fantastic.
And then call up lucky winners, like who gonna win, and then call this guy, call that guy, and then after that, who won the prize. It's about,
that's a lot of work. That's good, man. That's impressive.
It's that was impressive for me is that how to really engage them.
Of course.
To give that energy into them. Like, it was a great experience I've got. I was like, oh my God, I never thought in my life that one day I can stand in front of audience. As I said, if you go back to what I was saying, I was reluctant to talk in front of my colleagues, that I will spend hours and hours with them in the library, and I wasn't prepared. And I still remember in college in Bahrain, whenever we had to do a presentation, they will keep all the students outside. Only me, I would have to present to the lecturer.
Lecture, yeah, because
And
you were
it's
so shy. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
They will never keep anybody, like, even if it's good or bad with me, they'll never keep any student.
You're gonna like this, Master Mo. I remember once I was doing a lecture. We had a lecture and it was a presentation, and it was a group presentation because those are always the worst. So
Right.
we have to always do them. And it was me and 4 other teammates. And as usual at university, on the day of the delivery, 2 didn't hand in anything, and 2 didn't show up. So it was just me and another guy who was from mainland China. I forgot his name at the moment. He doesn't speak at all any English. And he showed me I remember I had like maybe 3 or 4 pages because we were supposed to do 2 or 3 pages, and he had like 2 or 3 pages. So I put it together. We had 6, but mine was the middle,
Right.
and his was the second to last, right? And so I had to go to about 800 people, and I had to explain. Well, first of all, one of my cohorts is in jail right now. And the other is sick, so I can give you the middle of the presentation, and I
Right.
can give you the bit after that, and that's about all I can give you.
True.
Yeah, amazing. So now that you're doing public speaking, do you see this as an avenue that you want to follow into and you want to do more of? Do you want to do more of teaching? Do you want to be more of a speaker? Where do you see yourself, Mr. Mao?
I never spoke about that actually. It's mix of, being responsible for a family. At this stage right now, it does not pay the bills to be a speaker, or and plus
You're also
a
young man. I mean, come on,
But-
of course.
No, I'm not young.
Yes, you are. Come on. Most speakers, if you see them, they're all great hair.
Yes. So I'm in the beginning of going to that path. But having said that, is that I work as an HR daytime, and
Sure.
and nighttime I am working as whatever you would call me, but I will call myself a hustler basically. And for me, I really like to to understand my value, because I have watched there is a podcast, it's voice version only, it's called Woman Power Podcast, something like that.
Okay.
I'm not really recall the name. Woman Podcast, or
We'll
Woman
end it
Power
in the
Podcast.
description later.
I will tell you what happened. One of them, she one times invited a speaker, and so she was going to talk about through the pain of the companies whenever she would be quote a company for it, and it's like they don't really want to pay for it. So the
Okay.
companies in Bahrain, for example, it's not general. I mean, this is very general information, but this is how it goes. They are really willing to spend on a cameraman. Yes.
This is the one, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
I've seen it before. I think I know what it is. It's not Bahraini though, is it? It's international.
It's
Ah,
Bahraini. Yes.
Oh, okay. My mistake. Then that's not the one I'm thinking
I
of.
was amazed with, I think her name is Wafa. Yes, I was actually amazed with this characteristics of her, Wafa Al Budayat.
I just reached out to her, I think, 2 days ago to invite her on the
really?
show. Yeah, I think so.
And what was that? Like,
I think I just DM'd her, like I DM'd you on Instagram, and to see if she was interested to come on. I remember looking at some of the stuff, and I said, well, you know what? This could be a fun conversation.
it is. You never knew. Like I said, why do you think I immediately go? I don't want to say that, but I immediately gel with you immediately, because I understood where you come from. For me, when I reach to such caliber, I don't want to say the names, but when I read to some of these people, they thought themselves that we are the professionalism, we are the caliber that you wouldn't reach to us.
If you don't mind me saying this, Master Mo, from me as an individual, I have total disrespect and disregard to the audience. I couldn't care less about who watches. The reason I do this is because I have the opportunity of meeting people like you, Master Mo. People I want to connect with and I feel interesting. I want to hear their story.
Yes.
It has absolutely nothing to do with how much this follows anything.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if this didn't have to exist in order to invite people and give them a reason to come, I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's how we ended up in this situation, and I totally know where you're coming from, Master Mo.
exactly. So
I totally know.
So, like you said, how long will you require to reach to the position where you do everything yourself? And imagine that, like I said, I had not even hold a professional camera. For me before, I didn't have anything. I just knew that what is the essential to have studio podcast setup.
Okay, wait. We're going somewhere else now.
No. Before that, let's say I have the tools, but what is really required from a person?
We just finished the topic about this lady. I forgot her name. Women Empowerment podcast. So how did we go from this to this now?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Because when I see that one episode about one girl she brought as a speaker, she was saying that people in Bahrain, organization in Bahrain, they are willing to pay the cameraman a number of
10 BD.
not 10 BD. It's something really high.
No way. Ask these boys. They can tell you right here.
No.
It's 10 BD. People don't pay a lot for cameramen.
No, you are.
Really?
Trust me.
Really?
Trust me when I say this.
Okay, let's hear it.
I have seen
Sure.
companies pay amounts worth more than you can imagine for cameraman.
Wasta.
Again.
Then, you know, my son, Ammi, Akhoy. I find it hard to believe that they're like, oh, you know what?
Exactly. So she was talking about her experiences into this is something that I can be very benefit of, but the people are not willing. They are willing to pay the cameraman, they are willing to pay for the host, they are willing to pay for the catering, they are willing to pay this and that, but when it's come to the actual speaker who can lift
The audience, sure.
or make it very boring, they are not interested to pay such a thing. So I was thinking about that. So for me, basically, I'm working. I do this as to fuel my passion.
If I can ask you something, Master Mo, have you considered opening or starting a separate Instagram account as an A/B test, right? Getting and buying some followers, let's say 10,000, 50,000 followers on the second account, not on your current account. Have some posts and then use that mechanism and contacting these firms as a public speaker and then say, hey, you know what? I'm a public speaker. I have a huge following. You should hire me. I could see the twinkle in your eye and I could see that little smile because I have a feeling in my heart that people don't, you know, they only care about numbers, right? And I think the thing that's stopping most people from earning a good income is the relativity. Or you know, it's like going to university, right? To have that piece of paper.
Sure. So I think it's all based on the perspective of identifying the criteria of, for example, creativity. I knew a photographer. He is doing a fantastic job, and he has only 7,000 followers. And when I asked him about that, he said, I don't really care about the numbers of followers. I said to him, why? I want to know the real. He says, what is the followers will do to me? You see, in Bahrain, you see, when there is an advance in something, you have to go through this advancement. What's going on? Like you know, in Bahrain right now, 20 bloggers are in the market. This guy have 80K, this guy 70K, this guy have this K. But who have the influence? It depends on your product before you contact that influencer, for example. Oh, what kind of a product do I have? Is that influencer? Who's the following of that influencers?
Okay, so the reason I brought that subject into it, and I'm interrupting a little bit because I kind of think I know where you're going with it. So I have a friend. Let me clear my thinking. I have a friend in London, and he ran an experiment. And he wanted to see, can he be a crypto consultant? and how quickly can he be a crypto consultant. By the way, I know you're also into crypto, and we can talk about it in a second. So he did exactly what I said, and this is how I gave you that advice. He bought around 100,000 followers, made a few posts that it looked a little bit more genuine. I think like 300 or 400 posts he made. Then he started DMing random people and saying, hey, you know what? I could coach you at being a consultant for blah, blah, blah. And it'll be a one-time expense or monthly expense of 20 BD, of 30 BD. He messaged 100 people. And I think the last time we talked, he had about 30 people who were willing to pay him 30 BD each to give them information. And this is in a day's work, you know? This is
Exactly.
So I mean, that's the reason of why to have those followers. People are gullible.
For me, I immediately, if I had a chance to grow very slow, instead of grow like that, I would choose to grow slow.
Sure.
Because I have a values.
And also you're honest.
I have a values to
Sure.
show that I don't care about how many people are following me if I
Sure.
know the value what I'm capable of providing for you.
Sure. But all I'm saying is not that you having these followers just for your sake and your ego. I'm saying you have these followers just in order to open that door, to
Exactly.
sell your pitch.
Exactly.
That's all.
It's not only that. If you think right now about this, you will find lots of people, they have established their own courses when they have ability in something, and they're like, okay, you know what? I'll give you let's say medics, some of them photographers. We have a course for photographers worth of this much, and it's online. This grown, and especially in COVID, it's grown really, like voice-over artists, Photoshop, photographers, editing. You might see 10 million teachers in Bahrain, not 10 million, like
Instagram messengers.
messengers.
Sure.
They are thinking that, oh, we are doing, and then they have a little understanding of marketing, so they will have how to content, like market their product using content, content and not content. I forgot actually. It's not content. It's
Marketing funnel you're talking about?
the funnel, exactly. They
Sure.
have very understanding of that funnel, so they will act, okay, I have to give information and marketing. Okay, so they will think themselves that they will put themselves as
an expert, like
not
Gary
an expert. They will similarly they'll put like their image in something like white and black, and then they will put some bold. Oh, don't miss out this. We are doing this, and they are earning money from
It's
this.
scary, isn't it? It's when I see that kind of stuff, it always makes my heart hurt.
You know what makes me feel about that? Who gave that prospective gentleman? I have full respect for him, but who gave him the title that he can do it from his mind? Or some people leading, they have wrong influence of influencing people, and that's why
No,
personally
Muhammad.
I believe that what's going on at this moment in social media is crap.
Okay.
I disagree with the moment. Like, I fully agree when you give an influencer an amount of money to promote your product. But I disagree with a guy who runs from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock in the night from one brand to another, and people have to follow him.
Okay. So you're disgusted with influencers who do it just in order for companies to give justification and earn money and just push a product out that they don't like or enjoy, and they're just this soulless creature, right?
They just miss. For example, you in this right now, it's very difficult to find. For example, food bloggers. How many food bloggers we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and every one of them, some of them are really unique into how to show it. But then imagine about the amount of people they will influence others that they will cut after them as well.
That's also true, but I think there's a lot of people who like the concept of doing something and then just give up on doing it. And perfect example is podcasting. Think about how many people have both started podcasting and never did it again, or very lazy at doing it, or they do it, once a month and once 6 months and then stuff like that. I've done it. other people I see do it. Like sometimes I've had one episode, 4 months of just nothing.
Exactly.
Right, and I think that's just the industry. And I think if you're serious at your game, and if you're serious a food blogger, if you're serious at being a podcaster, and you put your head down, you say, well, you know what, I produce at least once a week. I produce at least once a month. Then that's fine. You know, if you set yourself goals. But if you're just saying, you know what, I'm bored. Let's be a food blogger today.
No. For me, I really respect when someone go to achieve his dream and do whatever he thinks he can do. I have no intention of saying no to this guy, no to this guy. When I say this, specifically about the power of influence giving to the wrong hands, like what this guy did. I'm going to be now the stereotype of them, the other way around, because there is lots of misunderstanding of using influencing in the right form.
Sure.
You see, some people got famous doing nothing.
Sure.
Just the Italian
Kim
guy.
Kardashian. I mean, what do they do?
So
they don't
she
do
did
nothing.
something.
She does nothing. She did one movie, what you can't watch, and
So she did something.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
I mean, the whole family. Can you imagine if the husband became so crazy that he had to become a woman? Can you imagine?
Yes. So in Bahrain, you might find I don't look at it as who this guy is influencing or promoting. I say who this guy is playing with the mind game of the people watching him. Oh, I want to be like him someday. Imagine, like the full generation will just think about that. Like the same goes with when you watch a movie and when you watch a documentary. In a documentary, you will learn a lot,
Sure.
but in a film, you.
Sure.
But
But
similarly, this.
But I think we also have to say, Master Mo, that you know the opportunities that our parents had is not the same opportunities that we have.
True.
That's you could if you were in the 70s and the 80s, if you had 0 degrees, you could work almost anywhere and you could move up.
True.
Now, you get very
I like
quickly.
that. You give a really taste of it. Like, is it like woo?
I meant it more like
No, you
Like they
sounds
can-
very interesting. And true.
I know a guy who started as a paper boy. He's 50 now, and he is a chief executive at a consultancy company. No high school degree, no university, no nothing. That is not possible in today's world.
No way.
No way.
No way.
And he started at 13 taking papers from the office, because back then everything was written still by hand. There was no computers in the office. And he would pick them from the desks and then bring it to the manager, which would approve it or disapprove it.
Sure.
And after that position, he was allowed to be coffee boy. So he was below coffee boy.
Oh my god.
Amazing, right?
True. It's
And-
really amazing. You know, and in this life, just like what they did in US, I think it's I really hate it. Me personally, I really hate when this is one of the things that let me even start my podcast, that we are always late.
Okay.
What happened in US will be copied, and then there will be Arabic version here 2 months, 6 months after that in Bahrain.
But we know also why that is, There's,
Whether we know or not, we have to.
there's reasons for it.
There is reason for. So why we don't do it the other way around? Why we have to wait for them to show us what that we can do, then we can go back to them.
Because it wouldn't be allowed, that's why.
But if you go back to the history,
Sure.
if you go back to the real history,
Sure.
I'm
Like 600 years ago, I agree. But look at TikTok. Like TikTok is a Chinese company that is owned by American shareholders that nobody talks about. And even that company had such an uphill fight to get approved in America.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and even till today, the U.S. is talking about banning TikTok as a social media platform.
Oh.
And they even gave them a threat saying that the only way to survive in the U.S. market is if 51% or something shares belong to a U.S. conglomerate or U.S. firm.
Oh.
Yeah. By the way, did you know that in Japan, and when the first Xbox was made in 2000, and I think it was early 1990 or 2003, 2002, whenever the original Xbox came out. Can you look up the date then? Japan banned it.
Mm.
They didn't allow Xbox. They only wanted Nintendo and PlayStation because that's what they manufacture, right? The US military got involved and punished Japan, as in pushed them to allow Xbox sales.
Oh.
Yeah. We're living a very interesting world. It's when was the 2001? I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, close.
Yeah.
Very close. It's interesting, actually. I never knew that information before.
Because my thesis was on military expenditure on innovation.
No.
And what I discovered was that the majority of innovation that we see in consumer products actually come from NORAD or the DoD, from the U.S. military department. GPS, obviously, lithium batteries, touch screens, Bluetooth, 3G, 4G, the LCD displays, even the aluminium holdings and the composites are all made in NORAD or the DoD. And then companies like Apple, Google, or whoever license then that technology and then claim we're the inventors.
Yes.
Nonsense.
Exactly.
So the US military is about 20 years ahead technology as what is available in consumer grade. So how did you get into crypto now?
I'm not.
You're not in crypto.
No.
Then why did I see a post with you and crypto involved?
Right. Interesting question.
Okay.
I've been looking to the people who see. When you talk about crypto, of course, everybody minds mining or trading, whatsoever. I was reach out to those people. I reach out to the people who own a farm worth of 30,000 BD and above. So,
how did you find them, first of all? Instagram or
No,
just
no,
through
no,
friends?
Personal friends, personal connections, through
Okay.
that. So whenever I reach to some guy who own that lucrative farm, they will tell me and all information I need, but they wouldn't do it in front of camera.
Really?
Yes.
So even if you tell them, hey, listen, we'll hide your voice, we'll put a mask.
No,
Not
I'm
interested.
not interested at all. I'm telling you as a friend, the whole process of me doing it, I started with one. Now I have full farm worth of 26K, 30K. I was having a difficulties into finding, because in Bahrain, I've been searching for who is crypto, who talks about crypto, who from the perspective of wrong influencers. So I was thinking, imagine I'm bringing a wrong host, or I hosted
Bad
someone
guest, yeah,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
telling something, and then after that I realized, he made a big drama outside. It does not look good even for me, because I have a values to give the people. So it was very difficult for me to find someone who's really into crypto and understanding crypto. So luckily enough, I spoke with my friend Ahmed Al-Baharna. I didn't knew him personally at the time.
Mhm.
I knew him from a friend of a friend of a friend.
Of course.
So it was like that. So he's generally into trading, not into mining.
Sure.
My main aim is to get someone from mining, the one who have like their, I want to know the depth of it. I want to speak with someone about crypto, So I started searching, and then I found Ahmed. It was a great,
Sure.
great guy. He'd been in experience before in multiple companies in back end of related things or whatsoever. But again, the real ambition with me is to understand crypto and try to simplicity to the audience of me. So imagine now I have no information about crypto. How would you educate me about crypto? So that was the reason or the rationale behind me looking for a crypto guy. And most of them, even traders, they didn't want to speak. Sometimes they just, even I'm saying to them, your information or your analysis of understanding the graphs of a crypto, sometimes outside something else happen. A tweet from just like what happened with Elon Musk, tweeted about a coin, and then after that it's go boom or dumb. Similarly, lots of cases can happen.
Sure.
So nobody will hold you responsible. The main aim is to share awareness, to share knowledge, just to get into the field. So it was very difficult for me. either I would reach to good guy, but he wouldn't go on the show, or I would reach to a guy who at the end I knew he's not just like not following the values I'm looking for.
Have you reached out to a guy called H.I.? Can you go on my Insta and then go on my messages? There's nothing on it, so you guys can go through it. Doesn't matter. There's some guy. I forgot his name. H.I. Go scroll down. H.I. Scroll a little further. Scroll further. There it is. Hitham.
Haytham.
Yeah. Portraits and events. That dude right there.
No, not really.
He does crypto as well. He was originally into videography and photography.
Nice.
And if you're looking for a guy who can come on your show and talk about crypto,
yes,
he would definitely give you some advice. Try Geek Boss. Maybe that's his link for his crypto stuff. He works as a consultant now for firms.
Nice.
And so, yeah. So maybe that would be somebody of interest to you.
Yeah. It's definitely. Right now, it is very popular topic, especially with the crash of the Bitcoin. But
I mean, I'm not invested into Bitcoin. I have no knowledge really of it.
For me, there's one thing which really like restricts me of start into crypto, and it's very simple. When I want to invest in something, I want to have a control of it.
Sure.
In a crypto, you don't have control.
Okay.
Like what I wanted to say that.
Sure, but you don't have control of putting your money in a bank. You don't have a control when you're driving a car.
No. Into perspective of, I don't have the influence of the control of that. You never know what's going to happen. If they thought just like what happened with that coin,
sure,
when they collapsed, I think they took whatever happened with I forgot the name actually. It was
Elon
very
Musk.
popular. No. The Spanish one, the one they rob a bank and yes, Money Heist. There was a coin.
It's a TV show.
It's a TV show. It's very popular. They produce a coin and the name of
Money Heist, the show.
Yes, and immediately it's got like pump and dump. I don't know what's the terminology they
Pump
use.
and dump? Yeah, I mean, you clearly know the terminology. Bravo.
So specifically something like that and went to zero.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that I don't have a control of the money. I don't have the control of the decision of this company. I like something that I have the control on. So for example, that's my rational thinking when I make decision that at the moment I don't have time, because if I will go crypto, I'll go full-time crypto. Not full-time, like really into crypto. This is my personality. Like if I'm in a podcast, then I'll discover really how to do a podcast, and then I'll go really deep. So I thought at the moment that I'm not ready at the moment to fit in crypto.
Okay.
I need to invest about, for example, it's very difficult to get really good job into whether you want to go really like you mentioned, whether you would go full-time speaker or would you go to pursue a career.
Okay.
It's something very difficult. Sometimes you might have the ability, but at that moment you have to go to the long road, not the short road. So you have to work, and maybe perhaps outside your working hours.
What you're saying is that you don't have enough time with your current speaking events, your current podcasting, you work in HR, and then as a family man.
Yes.
There's just not enough room.
No room for if I have to take this crypto, I have to take something else. And for me, it's and this I have full control of it.
If money wasn't if money wasn't an issue, would you personally invest into crypto, or would you be like, no way?
I'm a gambler guy, I would say.
Okay.
Because it's for me. You see, I wouldn't.
You risk. You like risk.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a guy who, if I lost, I learn.
Okay.
If I did something, I want to see what's like. For example, if I invest in a crypto and it's fall down, I wouldn't come home and cry. Instead, I will think about how can I find something lucrative or similarly lucrative to what I was earning in a crypto.
Okay, but if crypto is down, would you then double buy?
Yes.
So you'd be double buy.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, for example, no, if I will consider, no, I think, yes, it's the time for me to go. But again, for me, before I would do this step, I need to educate myself.
No, I'm just really, really fascinated because what I see a lot in the investor world is that people think they can beat alpha, but now we're talking about stock. But for crypto world, I see a lot of people doing bad purchasing decisions where they hold purchase because they think it's going to go lower, and then they miss the purchase, and then it goes up, and then they feel like they've lost that mobility, that upward motion, and so they buy very close near the peak, and then when it stops dropping, they start getting scared, and then they start selling.
True.
Right? And I hear this is like 90% of the people I talk to. This is kind of the same modality of thinking, where they can't just like, listen, I'm just going to buy Netflix stock, I'm going to buy crypto, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy this, and I'm just going to let it sit and not look at it for 5 years.
Yes.
I hardly find anyone who does this. Almost no one.
Exactly. They because I think it's because of low awareness and short-term or non-planning at all, actually. And the people have short-term goals. They might, it's a crypto. Let's go. Let's buy a crypto.
That's it. I think it's exactly that. I think it's that people are just thinking about it and being like, I'm going to be rich.
Yes, how to be rich.
Exactly. I think that's exactly it. I bet you that if you type that into TikTok, the last 10 or so videos is going to be crypto and being like, this is like your steal strategy. This is how you're going to buy and sell and stuff like that.
Do you always dream about financial freedom? Imagine yourself working from from the beach. Do you think yourself you're going to, and this is what makes the people, for me, whenever I see such an opportunity, even if I am interested to go in, but first I have to educate myself. If I found myself that I'm well educated into doing it, then I'm gonna do it.
So Scott Galloway, can you open up Scott Galloway? He's a really good professor at NYU CERN. He wrote a book called The Four, and he makes exactly a very similar point to what you do, Master Mo.
Oh, nice. So no, you quote him. I
think he makes a very excellent point, and he says that if you have two people, he compares his parents. So he says some of my friends, they make $2 million plus a year. My parents, they make about collectively $40,000 a year. However, that friend of mine who earns $2 million has 2 divorces. He's got kids. He's got an expensive lifestyle. Has expensive cars. When he ends his annual balance, he's in minus. However, my parents, when they have their annual their annual day, or when they look at their financial freedom over the last year, they're around $5,000 to $10,000 in plus. His parents have financial freedom. His friend who has $2 million is poor, and it's fascinating that like thinking.
The thinking, exactly, the thinking. As you mentioned, we at the beginning of this podcast, we touched upon some things, and I thought I said something, and then I didn't touch upon.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
Especially with me personally, I wasn't a guy who loved reading at all.
Okay.
Like if I have to read something just to understand something, so once I understand and just to pass that whatever the requirement, and that's go. But when I graduated and come back, at that moment I realized the power of reading, and I start looking around. And trust me, I don't know if you have you read any book of Robert Greene?
It sounds familiar. Can you look up Robert Greene?
Oh my God! If this is the main thing which really changed my mindset.
Okay.
Robert Greene, and especially if you go read.
Of course, I know him. Yes,
power,
yes.
And you know what I really like about this author?
Mm-hmm.
This author is really, you may see him in many shows. I have watched, there's like 10 podcasters around the globe. I have no idea about their existence.
Okay.
Just because I was interested to know about Robert Greene when he is on show or talking, through all raw materials or raw videos, you may find lots
raw
of information.
Videos? He was born in 1558. What are you talking about?
Raw videos. I mean, those kind of content where you will find the real value. So
Okay,
I was
okay. I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah.
So I was looking, anyone who did an interview with Roberto Greene, I will watch that interview from minute zero to the.
Look up Robert Greene quotes. Let's see if he said anything that I can agree with. Let's see
Definitely.
Let's see if there's even one, like, maybe we can use it as a title or something like that. Here, when you show yourself, well, that's gone. When you show yourself to the world and display your talents, you naturally stir all kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations, thank you, of insecurities. You cannot spend your life worrying about the petty feelings of others. Okay, well, yeah. Thank you. We'll scroll down. If you're unsure of the course of action, do not attempt it. If your doubts and hesitations will affect your execution, timidly is dangerous. Better to enter with boldness. Any mistakes you commit through the audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. Everyone admits the bold. No one honors the timid. Okay, perfect. Sorry, it's a little hard to read. Ma'al metal. That's why I have to keep going like this.
That's what I was looking. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yes, go.
You keep your friends for friendship, but you work with skill and competent. Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting.
This, trust me, it was New York best author for many time. I think for years, especially the Mastery and Power.
Yeah.
This book, if it laid in wrong hand, it's difficult to handle.
By the way, The Mastery of Power and Mastery of Seduction, both those books are illegal in a lot of prisons in America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the manipulation that the book can cause or can allow people to be manipulated very easily.
It can educate people how to manage whoever want to manipulate them, but then they play the cards in the right time. Magnificent book, I would say. Masteries talks about how it's. I am halfway through it at the moment. I also when you read such a book, it's ignite you. The thing is, I've noticed with these kind of books, and it's weird. I don't know if you have it or no. If you see some guys, like, they were really attached to a book, or they go above and beyond after reading a book, and perhaps they might not even complete it. Have you ever had this coincidence?
You mean you read a book and you couldn't complete it because it was too boring, or you couldn't complete it because it was just too dense?
This is something I found 3 of my friends talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, they explore themselves, they find something fascinating, but they didn't even have the chance to finish the whole book. But they got inspired, and then that's it. And they didn't finish the whole book.
No,
it happens to me like 3-4 times with my friends. They says, "Oh, this book inspired me," blah blah blah. Have you ever finished it? Oh no, I didn't finish it, but it's inspired me to a way, and
No, I hear where you're coming from. I mean, there are books that I've read and then I've implemented without finishing it, but then again I come back and finish it.
Yeah.
There's very few books that I just haven't finished.
Right.
Because I make it a rule for myself. You know what? If I open this book has to finish it. And and I have to be very careful then what I pick. Because if I'm stuck with a bad book,
yes,
then I'm just struggling. I'm just trying to pray to get to the end.
Yeah.
If you like these kind of books, Dan, if you open that same page, type in The Prince, and it is by Dante. The Prince. By Dante Machiavelli. This was the old school business book back in the day, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. Right there, that's him. It's a fantastic book. It was written in the 14th century. Ooh, I was on point on that. It was written in the 14th century. It's basically about management, principalities. It's fantastic. It's very, very fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What kind of books do you normally read?
In general or in
your personal favor?
So I read between 3 to 4 books a week, and I try to keep it very strange. So, sometimes I read business books, sometimes I read unpublished manuscripts, sometimes I read textbooks, whatever like I can find my hands on that interests me. I can finish it very, very quickly. Nice. Sometimes it's like self-help books, and then if it's like a key aspect or an idea that resonates with me, then I can go, okay, you know what? I'll highlight it. I'll make a notice of it. And what I normally do, this was back. I mean, this was more back in the day. Now I use a Kindle, but I used to take a pen and I'd write in the column of that page, and I would write what I was either thinking or what I was feeling. So if I ever come back to read that book, I would remember and be like, oh, right, I felt this, or it gave me this idea.
Nice.
Because, when you reread something, you don't always have that same connection to that book.
Exactly. I like what you're saying, because there's lots to be read in a book, and sometimes there is something really magnificent or something really value, and you want to take that with you. Some people have notes, just like you mentioned, and it's strange that everybody has different way. Like for you, you're writing at the top of it. For me, I used to write it in a notebook separately. I have another notebook.
But what happens if you lose that notebook then?
If somebody lays it in the wrong hands, again, it's difficult.
But what happens if you go to a coffee shop? I mean, if you leave the book, okay, you left the book. But if you left the notebook, that's all your work gone.
No, it's always in the house. I never take it out. Because sometimes you have to go to read it again, just to understand something, just to take highlights. Sometimes I didn't go through the audiobook much. I didn't find myself... I don't know, but don't work for me a lot. Like audiobooks.
Audiobooks works for me if there's stories. So if there's like a fiction book, or even if it's a non-fiction, as long as it's like an epilogue, a story, then I'm fine. If it's like critical information, like negotiations or management, then no way.
No,
yeah.
I know what you mean.
There's a really good book, story-wise. It's called not Machiavelli, not I forgot the name, and it's really, really annoying. It's called what's that town near Spain and France where they allow gambling? Do the two of you know what's that town called? Type in most famous casinos in the world.
I recognize right now within you.
Sure.
You have the same characteristics of me. If when you want to remember something,
it doesn't come.
It doesn't come. Of course, it will never come. But you will hold all your thoughts and think, I need to find this, and then I can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to finish things, right?
Exactly. So sometimes I have this with a film.
Monte Carlo. There's a book called Count of Monte Cristo. See how my brain works? I know that Monty is in the thing, and it's called Count of Monte Cristo, and it's a book. It was a movie. It came out a long time ago.
Oh.
And it was published 18. I was going to say 16.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a really, really good book. It's all about revenge. It's this intrigue and it's not difficult plot, but it's this very heavy plot. So the story goes that this young man falls in love with this lady, and an aristocrat falls in love with this lady, and so wants to have the man killed. So she convinces him, say no, please don't, blah, 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 blah. And so he sends the guy to prison. And so he spends 20 years in prison, and he meets this blind, crazy guy who the rest of the prison thinks he's crazy. But in reality, he's sane, and he's just building his escape for the last 60 years.
Sure.
And so he passes away, the old man, but leaves him a sizable treasure that he buried outside, and he shows him like the route. And so he manages to break out of jail. He goes and finds the treasure, and then he shows up as the Count. And it's a fantastic story. I really recommend it.
Really? Do you really fascinated with the story of what's going on, or basically if a story has a drama that you never know what's going on, like you predict the ending of that book?
I think we all do at some level, right? I think we all kind of go, you know what? I think that person's the killer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unless, then why are you watching something if you're not entertained by it? You know what I mean?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. If you're just sitting there and being like, then turn it off.
Some people are really into those kind of story or fairy tale stories, and some people, like me, for example, I never ever read something like that.
Never.
Ever.
Never.
Never.
You're missing out. You're missing out.
I know, but you see, at the end, you cannot, you have to find what is something that you really into it. Like when I read, books of businesses, of marketing, blah, 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 all those sort of books, I understood what I need to understand in order to write what I wanted to write.
Sure.
But when you read,
non-fiction.
Non-fiction.
Fiction, yeah.
Like, for example, mastery, for example. You read such a mastery, it will influence you into how to think, how to do this, how to implement things in your life. This I can feel, the book is, the writer, I can feel his feeling when he writes this kind of things that allows me, I should do this way, not that way.
But Master Mo, don't you think that after a certain amount of economics, marketing, business books you've read, it starts becoming predictable?
Exactly.
Right?
There's nothing more than what I need.
The original concepts is concepts you've already seen other places. When you see implementation, it's just a different strategy or similar strategy to another one that you've read. And then you're kind of sitting there going, well, you know what? Why am I reading something that is a worse version of this thing? If it's at least the better version, then you can invest your time and say, okay, you know what?
Yes, exactly.
I'll finish it because it's better.
Exactly. And so when I didn't have even that, but when I realized the power of reading and how can reading improve your mentally and how to prepare you, how to, you see, it's the writer put his life to write you something.
Sure.
So you shouldn't put your life to read it.
Sure.
But you have to
respect it,
understand, and what can you utilize after reading this book, like the power of what exactly. So for me, one of my friends recommended me this. Says, Noah, you have to go write this book. You'll start your podcast. You will do amazing. But at that time, I didn't do anything. So once I start reading 4 or 5 pages of the book, I was like, I have to get the second book so that once I finish with this book, I have the second one is already in hand. And I stopped reading. I still have loads of business books, and sometimes I feel I miss them. So I will go to find some information. For example, I have something in my work that has no relation with these books whatsoever, but you know how the ability of you just now remembering the name of the book, the same thing will goes to my mind. Oh, there is something interesting in that book. I know for a fact, but I don't know what it is. And then I will go look through it, and I was like, oh my God, I can implement this. So I'll go next day to my manager, says, look, I have a new idea. Why don't we do? I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. Is it yours? No, I quoted it from the book, and it works actually. Especially,
well, the more educated and well-read you are, the more open your mind is, right?
True.
And the more you can then take and then give.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So are you reading anything interesting at the moment?
Are
you reading anything interesting at the moment?
No.
You're not reading anything?
No, I'm reading now. Not interesting to the level of the interest. As I said, I'm halfway through, but then I've got actually another recommendation with Larry King.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Is he still alive? I thought he's dead.
He's still alive.
No, Larry King is dead, isn't he? He must be 100.
Yeah, he passed away last year or 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, put it up.
Oh, really?
Put it up.
Something interesting. I read. There's one of my friends recommend me to read. Actually. He did already.
2021. He almost made 100. Good for you, boy.
Oh.
Almost.
2021. During COVID.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Born 1930. My God. I
read. Now I'm reading his book of how to talk to people. Imagine. Does it suit my face that I'm reading a book of how to talk to people? But still, I'm using it just to understand.
Terrible joke.
No, I'm just saying it. No, not to understand how to talk to people, just to understand his perspective to talking to people.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I know I have, everybody has uniqueness in him.
Can
He
you-
have to
can you
find.
look that up, Dan? The book. What's it called? Larry King. Learn to speak to people. Sorry to interrupt you, Master
It's
Mo.
something, trust me, especially for a podcaster or a podcasters in general, this is the go for a book you have to read.
This one right here, right? How to
Yes.
talk to anyone, right?
Yes, how to talk to anyone, anytime.
sorry.
It's really, really interesting book. It shows you his way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
yeah,
see,
yeah.
you sometimes people in that perspective, you have to learn their perspective and use your perspective, your uniqueness, showcase your uniqueness. But it's also good to know the perspective of others in the same field, to see how they think, what they did in there. It's really, really
No, what works, what doesn't. You know, he's got years of experience.
yes.
Absolutely.
And he was sharing at the book. I'm now almost finishing it, but he was sharing about his life when he started a podcasters, when he got to the radio the first time, how he was in a shock where he didn't know what to say in a radio, and it's just interesting to how he built up his career and general tips about lots of stuff. Even he talked about interviews. I really, really like this book.
You know who my favorite host of all time is? Bring up Johnny Carson, if you don't mind, Dan. Do you know who potentially he is?
Johnny?
Johnny Carson. You'll see it right now. Johnny Carson was the first host for the late night TV show. In fact, you just open the pictures. It doesn't matter. Just open images and we'll see. Yeah, Johnny Carson. He was my favorite host ever. I think the way he's pronounced, the way he speaks, you know, the way he can just be this very cool guy.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I know what you mean.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. If you have a chance, you should definitely check out Johnny Carson. It's fantastic.
But he's from the old era, so the numbers of...
He's long dead. He's been dead for like 20 years or so, or if not
Really?
more, yeah.
How at that time you were watching his stuff?
So I was in Saudi Arabia at the time, and at the time there was a lot of black and white TV as I was growing up. It was a lot of Three Stooges, stuff like that. And I remember my dad talking to me about Johnny Carson and saying like he really enjoyed it and this kind of stuff. And I think as I was growing up, I was surrounded more and more of that lingo in that world.
Right.
And then as soon as the internet came about and DVDs and stuff like that, I would buy like the disc set collections of like Johnny Carson's late night show, and then I'd watch it and I'd be like amazed, you know, what like you could still smoke on TV, you know,
Yeah.
that he the way he presents and people he'd have on the show. Sometimes his guests were just completely blind drunk
Right.
on national television live. And the guests would just come in and just like, because this was a different era, it was a different time.
Right.
And I was just amazed by that ability to be so free and candid, right?
Now there's lots of restrictions into the... As you mentioned, the time passes.
Where do you see a label on this, right?
Yeah, I think you removed it just few...
Well, it is what it is, right?